just said. But I thought a lot about this question last night. And I dialed it down to 3 things I think that make a great owner. There's a lot of things, but these are the 3 biggest. 1, willingness to spend money when needed. 2, the ability to hire the right person for the job at the right time. And 3, luck. And I think luck is massively underrated in all of this. We talk about Stan Kroenke. We use him as the example.
Yeah.
He's won 5 championships since 1999. 2 with the Rams, 2 with the Avalanche, and then with the Nuggets here. And he's got a couple other in some smaller sports. The Rams.
He's won 5 in since the start of 2022.
Well, if you count like professional lacrosse and all that.
Pro lacrosse and esports. But I'll tell you, I don't raise my eyes at that because
esports count.
But esports fastest growing sports sector in the world.
Sure, but it's not like he's day-to-day helping that, but he hired the right people, which goes back to what I said.
You left one out, but go ahead. But because I love the 3 that you had, and I didn't have luck in there, but you're right. Let me
tell you why luck is. The Rams for the 2023, so he's owned the Rams since 95.
Yeah.
They've been a partner, so that's almost 30 years.
Yep.
They've had a top 2 pick 3 times. They took Sam Bradford, number 1 overall. Didn't work.
No.
They took Jared Goff, number 1 overall. Didn't work. They took Jason Smith, who was out of the league, the left tackle from Baylor, in 4 years.
Wow.
That means they were bad much more frequently than they've been good. How did they win the Super Bowl? They hired Sean McVay. Turned out to be a home run hired head coach.
Yep.
They paid the tax. 2 first-rounders from Matt Stafford. They brought in Von Miller midseason. They brought in OBJ midseason. And then they got luck. Tampa Bay cover 0 in the NFC Championship game to let Cooper Kupp down the middle.
Yeah.
Are we going to really give Stan Kroenke credit for Denver when they drafted Jokic in the 2nd round? Like,
No.
he's part of it, but that's luck.
Luck.
The Avalanche, their best player, Nathan McKinnon, 1st overall pick. They were terrible. They happened to get a generational talent with the 1st pick the year that they were the worst team in the league.
Right.
So we could look at all the things owners do.
Sure.
Spending money is a must. You have to be able to identify and hire the right people in the right positions, and then a lot of it comes down to luck.
Yeah.
Every team in the league passed up on Jokic. Every team in the league. He's now the undisputed best player in basketball. McVay had chances to be a head coach before. I know Los Angeles was the first. Kroenke identified him as the guy he wanted to bring in, hired him. And with Malone in Denver, he hired Malone. He gave Malone time. They spent extra money. They've gone over the luxury tax a little bit, just a tad bit. But when they needed to for a guy like Aaron Gordon, they gave Michael Porter Jr. the extension. Yeah. They went out and signed Bruce Brown. And a lot of it comes down to luck, though. A lot of things have to break right to win a championship.
So is that your order, though? Money first, luck is the 3rd?
Luck is 3rd, in my opinion.
Yes. I look at it, I like all 3 of those things. I'm for myself, I don't know if I could be a good owner because I'm too passionate. And I think you have to have a vision for what what your organization to be, and that vision has to revolve in 5 to 10 year increments, right? Some moves that you make today aren't going to pay off until 3, 4, 5 years down the line. For me, I look at my mortality all the time. I know I ain't got no time to be setting nothing up. I want to win today. Yeah. And I think one of the things that you really have to, I think the biggest thing is being flexible, adaptable. Mm-hmm. Certain people have a concept of what they live by. They say a culture or something. You just mentioned it. You know, in those moves, sometimes they went over the luxury tax. Sometimes they didn't. Yeah. Sometimes they traded big names. Sometimes they traded those names for small people. Yep. Sometimes they went and got a coach that was unknown. Sometimes they went and got a coach that had a big name.
They went from Jeff Fisher to Sean McVay.
Right.
Mr. 500 with 1,000 different NFL seasons to McVay.
The flexibility is what keeps you able to read the market today. And and a lot of the owners, I appreciate the people that understand not only what was, but is yet to come. Mm-hmm. I like to see people that have that. There's guys in business that knew the typewriter was going to be out, but they invested in keyboards.
Right.
They knew that, hey, stoves, ain't nobody selling no big gas stoves door to door now. They said microwaves is coming in. I love owners that understand what the new wave is, and they're always about 6 months ahead of everybody, because that's right. All of them are
the
savvy.
league's a copycat league.
Yeah. 6 months.
So if you're not blazing a trail, you're following someone else.
Yeah.
Precisely.
And so that's why we see the Browns, and we see some of our, we talk about it. There's a lot of way to win games, but we've criticized our owners because we followed behind old ways that other people use. I think Bill Belichick in his success has got more coaches fired than anybody I've ever seen in my life, because they want to be Bill. You can't be Bill.
Yep.
Right.
You can't, like,
He's
that's
got more
him.
coaches hired,
and
more
fired.
coaches fired
Yep.
than
Fact.
anybody in the history of the sport.
There has not been a Belichick disciple that has really had his own. Now, Bill O'Brien had a little bit of success in Houston, but I don't think anyone looked at Bill O'Brien.
I don't
as
even
a,
measure that as success.
And he had to come on home.
Games.
He had to come on
Yeah.
home. Like,
Well,
Josh
they've all
McDaniels had to come
Josh
back.
McDaniel had to come back home.
Patricia.
Bill O'Brien came back home. Patricia
came back and got
Crennel.
fired again.
Romeo Crennel tried to go out on his own.
Yeah.
Who was the heavyset coach?
Weiss.
No, Charlie Weiss.
Charlie Weiss.
They thought he was.
I mean, he was just living off the association with Bill Belichick. You got 3 of the 4 right. Here was my order because I also had 3. Number 1, have a huge checkbook.
Yep.
Huge. If you're scrambling to see, are we going to make payroll this month?
Yeah.
The Guardians right
obviously an
now
issue.
are looking at missing Bally's check for July 1st. Bally's next installment is due July 1st.
Mm-hmm.
They just made a payment to several of their franchises. I believe the Diamondbacks was one of them. We know that they're bankrupt. The Guardians are in a real tricky situation, which is why I believe Dolan took on a minority owner. I don't know that our owner is flush enough to just start covering huge losses like the one that they're going to miss from Bally's Sports. If that's the thing Dolan's missing, the checkbook. Mm-hmm. He's got the other things, and here are the other things. Have the money. Be willing to spend the money smartly.
Are those 2 separate ones?
Yes.
Okay.
And number 3, and this is the one that you left out, get the hell out of the way. So number 2, you asked, is that the second one, be willing to spend the money. I incorporate that with, I said smartly, go out and find the cutting edge, top of the line executives. Dolan's done that. Antonetti, the Guardians are the envy of 29 other Major League Baseball teams, maybe 28, because I think the Rays, which are using the Guardians model, are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
They smartly identify young, bright, Ivy League educated minds who get baseball.
Do you think it is possible for a hands-on owner to be highly successble in
Name
sports?
one that has.
I mean, Cuban won a title.
Cuban's won 1 title in 20 years.
It's a title.
His counterpart in Dallas, Jerry Jones.
What
Jerry
about-
Jones
Yeah.
put his foot in it.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones fired Tom Landry. Mm-hmm. Jerry Jones fired Jimmy Johnson. Jerry Jones fired Barry Switzer. What have they won since the Herschel Walker trade put them in position to be dominant for a decade?
What about Krause and Reinsdorf?
I don't consider, okay, so one's different than the other. When Krause was meddling, it was a different time in sports. Mm-hmm. Player movement wasn't as easy as it is today. You know, back in the day, players moved when their contracts were up, and only when they were up, or at the whim of their team. Today, if a player's unhappy in a situation, he can work his way out of an NBA city. Yeah. We've seen it a million times.
We're going to talk about it in
The
one
players
sec.
have the power today.
Yeah.
So George Steinbrenner won, and a lot of people will say, well, Steinbrenner is a great example.
Yeah.
How many world championships did George Steinbrenner win in his 40-year tenure?
When did he leave? I mean, they won
4
in the 90s.
How many did he win?
At least,
Google it.
At least 4.
He had the greatest reliever in baseball. He had the cheat code at reliever in baseball. He had the generational shortstop, the generational third baseman, countless Cy Young Award-winning pitchers. For the money he spent and the teams that he built, he should have had 10. He was his own worst enemy. When in the 70s, when Billy Martin was looked at as the most fiery manager in baseball, he fired and hired him 3 times. He kept firing him and bringing him back because, to your point, he was too passionate. You have to wash your passion out of being an owner.
He got seven World Series.
In
40-something years?
Okay, that's not the greatest track record in the world.
But that's 7, though.
7.
He
That's
had
7.
he had the highest payroll every year.
That's your number one. That's your one thing. You gotta have the bag.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
yeah.
number one. You gotta have it. If you don't got it, you can't get it.
You have to know when to get out of the way, and George didn't. Jerry Jones does it. Jerry Jones. How
your
many
point-
playoff games have the Cowboys won in the last 20 years?
0.
Same as the Browns.
Or
No.
maybe 1.
Yeah, one.
One.
They've each won one playoff game.
To your point, and I do think you're right, in a perfect world, I'd rather not have my owner meddle than meddle. But to G's point, I think there's not one blueprint that fits every team in every sport that is the copy and paste, we're going to win champion. I think every organization is different.
Right.
To where there might be an organization, like I think the Patriots, for example, where I don't think Robert Kraft's meddling with Bill Belichick on day-to-day basis things, but that whole Brady situation kind of came down to Brady being Kraft's guy, Belichick wanting to move on. Like there is some crossover.
Yeah, so what you're right, but what stuns me about that is that it took so long.
I agree. So I'm just saying there's not one.
Inarguably the best coach and the best quarterback for 15 years. The fact that they survived that long in today's sports
is unbelievable.
And that is a testament to Robert Kraft.
And the climate is like that. Like you could take a look at it. It's the same thing with the Spurs. I mean, are the Spurs that great of an organization, or did they just get Tim Duncan? Or did they just slip up and find Kawhi Leonard? Or did Tony Parker be good? Or Ginobili?
It's called luck. You have the first pick in a draft with a generational guy.
I know, but you still have to give them some credit.
Yeah,
All the other teams in the NBA passed on Tony Parker.
They took him.
They didn't. Where there was luck was they were able to get the number 1 pick. So they had David Robinson and Tim Duncan at the same time. You damn well better be dynastic.
Yeah.
You better be.
And that's why it's a combination of all three. I think,
so luck is a big part of it. You're right.
And like their first overall picks that are Tim Duncan, their first overall picks that are Anthony Bennett. It's luck of the draw which year you happen to
So
sell.
I think we've identified the 4 traits. You need money. You need to be able to spend the money on the right people, and you have to get lucky. Okay,
Yeah.
let's look at the Cleveland sports owners. I mentioned Dolan.
Yep. I got my notes on all 3. I'm ready.
He has hired the right people.
Yep.
He does get the hell out of the way. To the media's disdain, we never get access to him. I interviewed him 2 years ago. I don't know that he's done a one-on-one since. He doesn't. He lets Antonetti be the face of the organization. What he lacks is the money. He doesn't. If he had Kroenke's, and by the way, we talked about Kroenke. It'd be irresponsible to bring something up about him. He's had success. He had to pay the city of St. Louis $790 million for stealing their team.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
He lost. And by the way,
he's hated.
the other owners in the NFL, the other 31, had to pay about $250 million of that money. Which means the Browns had to pay about $8 million, and the Lions had to pay $8 million, and the Cowboys paid $8 million for Stan Kroenke stealing the St. Louis Rams and putting them in Los Angeles.
He's as rich as it gets.
He doesn't care about money.
He's as rich as it gets.
You know who is really, really rich but does a really great job of giving back? It's Matthew Collick and the Collick Championship companies.
That's a transition.
I have to do a read now, don't I, Jay?
That's a transition
right
right
here
there.
it is.
Before we continue on with this topic, I do want to remind everybody that is the lunch hour of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and you can see your favorite golf legends play in the Colleague Companies Championship July 12th through July 16th at the famous Firestone Country Club. Fun, family-friendly events all week long featuring a new fan zone experience, free attendance for kids, and concerts every single night. There's something for everyone. Learn more at colleaguegolf.com.
It was a great transition. In time, I don't think you can name any investment that has a better return on it than being a pro sports owner.
Nope.
Now, the barrier to entry is you need a couple $1 billion.
All top.
But when you look at teams who 10 years ago sold for $400 million, but 3 months ago sold for $6 billion,
Yes. It's
and that's not the exception, that's the rule. Every one of these franchises that were purchased in the hundreds of millions are worth in the billions today. Guardians among them. But if you're not independently wealthy, that's a mirage of money.
I want to ask this question, and I've always thought, so say for instance, you can get a valuation just like, your house, right? You can go they say, how much is my house worth? Then you can say, okay, well, my house is worth this. Let me get a loan based on the value of my house, right? So when you look at smaller baseball teams, right, I've always thought, like, okay, I bought it for how much, right? I think the Guardians got bought for, like, what?
Couple $100 million.
300 million, yeah.
They're over $1 billion now, about 1.3,
billion and a half. I think we talked about this a month or two.
I think 1.3.
So your return on investment, $700 million, that's crazy. 700, 800 million you're going to get.
Almost $1 billion.
$1 billion. Now, can't you go to a bank and say, look, this is why I'm worth $1 billion.
I'm sure you can.
But a good financial person does not want to pay the interest
That's the
on that money.
So in other words, if you borrow 100, and I'm not sure, I don't know, I'm speaking way out of turn here. I'm guessing that maybe there was a loan taken during COVID. Because remember, one of the revenue streams was completely gone.
Yeah.
There was no attendance.
Yeah.
So all of the owners have a rainy day fund. Nobody in 2018 said, there could be a worldwide pandemic coming, but all of the owners prepare for a myriad of things. A work stoppage. Mm-hmm. How do we keep our other employees employed? How do we keep the ship moving if the players say we're not playing games until we get a better deal? So they all have this emergency slush fund. The Dodgers, the Yankees, the Cubs, the major market cities probably have a much bigger emergency fund than the Reds, the Royals, the Tigers, and the Guardians, and the Pirates. I'm sure he had to write checks out of his own personal wealth. Just by what I see and how they spend money, he's very, very frugal. And he's been successful doing that. Mm-hmm. So he's a smart guy. He's built this empire. So he's saying, I'm doing pretty well here. My investment of $300 million is now worth $1.3 billion. I'm doing something right.
And I'd like to keep that.
And I'd like to keep that wealth. Yeah. So if I borrow $100 million to buy Zunino and Bell, and they fall completely on their face, I'm not paying back just $100 million. I'm paying back at today's interest rates. I'm paying back $130 million. Yeah. I don't know how long these loans are taken for and what their interest rates are on them. So I think with him, he's saying, I've got a tried and true method. I've got the best manager in the game. I've got the best general manager in the game. I don't need the best roster in the game, and I've proven that because I'm consistently a playoff team. And because I played, and another thing, you played in one of the worst divisions. You're in the AL Central, where today you're 2.5 out. So let's run down the list. Money, no. Willing to spend, no. Does he meddle? No. Have they been lucky? Well, he's hired the great. He's hired the best staff. I went through I gave him no, and yes on luck. I think he has been lucky. He has been lucky. And he's hired the right people. But he hired Francona. He's hired He's hired Antonetti. And more importantly, this is where I give Dolan the most credit. You don't think that Tito and Antonetti have had offers that are far superior? Yep. And he must be taking care of them. Now, you don't have to divulge how much you're paying coaches and general managers. Yeah, but guess what? But the fact that they're not in Toronto or Boston, that speaks volumes. So he found the right people, and he's kept the right people. He's insulated because Tito has so much cachet that he can speak on things above where he even talk about. Like he's almost a de facto general manager, assistant GM, marketing guy. But he always pays reverence and respect to the guys above him. And they lockstep. They right by each other, right? It's a good management team. And so by far the best management team in local. Have you ever heard them say and have two conflicting messages? No, they're always messaging is always on point. Even when it came down to the very controversial name change. Yeah. Yep. Tito, whether he believed it or not, Tito went in front of those cameras and said, it's time. Yeah. It's time. We've got guys in our clubhouse that I've talked to that are uncomfortable with us being the Indians. Let's change it. Whether he believed that or not, he was in line with Dolan's message. Dan Gilbert, willing to spend? He has the money. He's willing to spend the money. Has he hired the right people? Yes. I agree. And has he been lucky? Yes. I say yes. See, here's my problem. Getting LeBron James in the lottery there is one thing with Dan, like, right? He did the old switcheroony. He had Mike Brown. He got rid of Mike Brown. Yeah. Brought Brown back. He did give Ty Lue the job, and I think Ty Lue is a top 2-3 coach in the league. So. And he did have David Blatt. Okay, now all of that means he meddles. Yeah. Yes. I don't need my owner meddling. I don't need George Steinbrenner firing Billy Martin and hiring 5 times. That's Beeline. He's hired me like, this not gonna work. And horrible hire. And when I say hire, you're never gonna hit 1,000. Right. When you're hiring coaches, like if your hit rate's 50%, you're probably doing a damn good job at hiring the right people. And I know Ant's got to read, so we got one more real quick. But overall, I think we can all agree Gilbert's done a pretty damn good job as an owner. He brought the only championship to Cleveland. Yeah. I rate the owners in town Dolan first, Gilbert second, Haslam third.
I think Dan Gilbert, because he's won, I can't put him no lower than one.
Gilbert's one to me, yeah.
Because guess what?
one
And
He's the only one that's delivered.
And he did the unthinkable. Like, how many times do billionaires apologize and kiss and make up?
Yep.
Yeah.
He didn't have to bring back LeBron. He after the letter, he
buried his pride because he wanted to win a championship.
He did, in my opinion, that 2016 season, he did everything needed to put that team in a position to win a championship. But at the end of the day, the owner's not coaching, he's not playing, he's not making shots, he's not playing defense, he's not calling timeouts, he's not stopping runs.
But
all
everybody that is there because directly
of
or
him,
indirectly because of him.
And his willingness to spend.
So are we all in agreement that the Haslams are clear-cut number 3 here?
Yeah, they've had the most. I mean, they had the most turnover. They can't find a quarterback. They couldn't. They had issues with their own businesses where they had to be like in litigation. I will give the Haslams. Here's one thing I will always give the Haslams credit for. The Haslams have always went out of their way to hire minorities.
Very good minority hiring.
Their minority record is now. Some of the minorities might not have been good coaches or GMs. At the end of the day, we find out. But anybody can do that. But my thought process is I've never had to come on here and be like, the Cleveland Browns don't have any diversity. Yeah. They've done a really good job of doing that. And maybe it just pays off because they were with the Rooneys for so long and they named the rule after him. So,
right.
so I'll give them that. But other than that.
To me, I judge everything in sports on wins and losses. That is the end-all, be-all. There's one stat that trumps that, and that's because Dan Gilbert's winning percentage as the Cavs owner without LeBron James is woefully bad.
Yeah.
I believe it's in the 300s.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, obviously, they won the lottery. They got LeBron James. There's some luck involved in that, even though they had the most ping pong balls. We've seen many times where the lottery doesn't go to the team with the most ping pong balls. So I think there's been a lot of luck there with Dan Gilbert. He definitely has the money. He's definitely willing to go into the tax. He pays punitive money in tax overages. So I think that's why I think it's 1 and 1A. Mm-hmm. But I do think that I'm probably not giving him enough credit for winning a title, although I think it should have been more than one. We had LeBron James here for a decade. We have 1 ring. Yeah. Not good enough.
Yeah.
The Guardians are consistently a playoff team and have made it to Game 7 of the World Series a handful of times, once under Dolan. Once they had a 3-1 lead in the World Series. I think they have consistently done the best job. And the Browns, I think it's very easy for me. They've just consistently underperformed. And here's the sad part. This is a Browns town. If we're going to have a great owner, it should be with the Browns.
You know, the cheat code is if the Haslams win, right, what are we going to say?
Congratulations.
Does that make them good owners overnight?
Yes.
They've done something right. So, yes, if they're going to get the blame when they suck and when they lose, they absolutely deserve the bulk of the credit. Look, and this town would love the Haslams if they bring a ring. That's it.
3 things I just said. Willing to spend. They gave Deshaun Watson the most money ever. They've gone out and got Darius Smith.
But I said willing to spend smartly.
But I'm just saying.
I'm not sure that was smart.
I'm saying my 3 things. This is my 3 things. Willing to spend. In my opinion, they've shown they are more than willing to spend. Hire the right people. If they win, it means Stefanski and Berry, home run hires. And luck, it takes a lot of luck to win a Super Bowl.
Man, you aren't kidding. It may take more luck to win a Super Bowl than any other.
So if they win, they catapult way up to me in anything that's happened in the past.
All right, so Jimmy and D, it's simple. You want to be number 1 on the list? Win a title.